Hi, welcome to Roy's Game Table. Today we have Game 7 of the League of Champions tournament. It is going to be Iron Man versus the Wrecking Crew experts. So pull up a chair and let's see what happens. This is the 7th and final game for me anyway of this League of Champions tournament. I've won 5 so far, lost 1, hoping to win this one. I am going to do Iron Man with the protection aspect today to show that off, and it's going to be against expert Wrecking Crew. And in case you don't know, that just basically means you fight the Wrecking Crew with each of the members on their B side. So they have a little bit more health than they would on just their A side, but once I defeat each one on their B side, I will win the game, or they can win if the scheme goes up to 6 or if they defeat Iron Man. So I'm going to go. I've already shuffled everything up. Their decks, I do have their decks, but they're off screen, and so I'm going to leave them off screen so that you can hopefully to try to get the camera as tight as I could, where I could show everything that needs to be seen, and so that's why they're off screen. But they have been shuffled. They're ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and draw up my starting hand for Tony Stark. All right, so I have my starting hand here, and it's pretty decent. I don't have any of his tech upgrades, but if you know anything about the protection aspect, energy barrier here is a tech upgrade. And so yes, if I put this in, this would count towards his +1 hand side on his Iron Man side. Now, obviously this won't be in the game forever, but it can help me get that in. So I'm going to leave both of the energy barriers in, and I think I'll go ahead and leave Stark Tower in for now. I'm going to discard the other 3 cards and then replace them. So let's see what we can get here. We got his helmet, another tackle, and the power of protection. So we've got 6 cards here. And I think the first thing I'll do is go ahead and use his futurist ability to look at the top 3 cards, put one in my hand, discard. So we got defensive stance, Nick Fury, and Luke Cage. Well, I'm going to discard Luke Cage in defensive stance, I think, and put Nick Fury in. I don't know that I'm going to get him in this turn, but maybe I can next turn to help Iron Man draw some cards, possibly. But I think I'm going to go ahead and put Nick Fury in my hand. So first thing I'm going to do is put an energy barrier into play using the power of protection for 2. And that will bring in 3 counters for that energy barrier. So let me put that on there. And then I'm going to put Stark Tower into play using Mark 5 helmet and tackle to pay for that. And then when I get Stark Tower, I go ahead and exhaust it to bring the top tech upgrade back into my hand, which will be the Mark 5 helmet. And I'm going to put in Mark 5 helmet using this other energy barrier to pay for it. I will hold on to Nick Fury. But I'm not going to flip over to Tony Stark, because one of the things that's unique about the Wrecking Crew is when they scheme, they don't put threat on the main scheme. They put it on their side scheme. And so whoever gets the scheme, which will be Wrecker, his side scheme will probably go off, but that's okay. I'm not really worried about it. So I'm going to leave it there ready and then draw up to 6. Okay, start the main villain phase, 1 threat on the scheme, and when you do that, you put 1 threat on each of the side schemes. So Wrecker's side scheme will go up to 7, Thunderballs will go up to 6, Bulldozer will go from 4 to 5, and Pile Driver's scheme will go up to 4. All right, and then you would move the marker. I'm using the first player token to denote who's the active villain. And you would move it who has the most, but it'll stay with the Wrecker because he has the most. He's going to scheme for 3, 4, 5, and that's going to be enough. That's going to bring it up to 12. And so when his scheme goes off, you deal 2 damage to each friendly character. And so Iron Man will take 2 damage because it's a friendly character, not hero. So he's going to go from 9 to 7. And then you drop everything down to just 3. And he, even though he has the lowest threat, he is still the active villain. Nothing has moved the marker. So the encounter card will come from him, and it is held hostage. So attack to the active villain side scheme, and I can't remove threat from that side scheme while this is on it. And the hero action is I can let the villain attack me, and then if he attacks me, I can discard held hostage. So I cannot remove threat from Wrecker's side scheme until I get held hostage out of play. So we are back to Tony Stark. Okay, I really want to get Nick Fury in to be able to draw some cards, and I think I can do it. So I'm going to move this breakout over here. But anyway, I'm going to put in Nick Fury using 1, 2, 3, 4. And when he comes in, he will have 3 hit points. And I'm going to have him let me draw a card, draw 3 cards. So 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to put in 1 copy of the Powered Gauntlets using Iron Fist and Brother Voodoo to do that. I'm going to exhaust Stark Tower to bring my topmost tech upgrade out, and that's going to be Rocket Boots back into. I'm going to bring that back into play. I'm going to put in Rocket Boots using my Powered Gauntlets, so that's going to give Tony Stark from 7 to 8 on his hit points. I'm going to go ahead and heal Tony back up from 8 to 11 because his max hit points is now 11 thanks to Rocket Boots. And then I'm going to flip him to his side. I'm going to thwart for 1 on Pile Driver's side scheme because I don't want him to become the active villain, because if his side scheme comes off, I have to discard an upgrade or support I control with the highest cost. So I don't want to risk losing any of his tech upgrades. And then I'm going to do Power Gauntlets for 1 damage and Nick Fury for 2, 3. So a total of 3 damage that I'll just go ahead and do to Wrecker here, dropping him from 18 down to 15. And that'll be it. I'll ready and draw up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, start of the main phase. We put 1 threat on the main scheme and then 1 on each of their schemes. So Wrecker will go up to 4, 7 for Thunderstruck, 6 for Clear the Road, and then back up to 4 for Pile It On. And then the token will move to Thunderball. He now has the most, so he's actually going to attack for 2. Now when after Thunderball attacks, I deal 1 damage to each character I control, but I'm going to have him attack Nick Fury. So he's going to attack for 2, 3, and that's going to knock Nick Fury out of the game, and Iron Man will take 1 damage. Actually, the thing about Energy Barrier, I thought it was only for defense, but it's not. So when you would take any amount of damage, remove 1 reflection counter from here, prevent 1 of that damage, and deal 1 damage to an enemy. So he's supposed to take 1 damage from Thunderball. I'm going to remove a counter from Energy Barrier to prevent it and deal 1 back to him, so that'll be 15. All right, and then Thunderball will be the one that plays his encounter card, and it is Tactical Prowess. So when revealed, move all threat from the side scheme with the least threat to the side scheme with the most threat. Okay, so, and we got to move all of it. So that is Pile Driver and Wrecker have the least. So I got to move 4 from Pile Driver, and I'll move it over to the side scheme with the most threat, and that's going to be Thunderball. If that scheme's force respond ability is not triggered this way, this card gains Surge. And it will be, because it's going to have 8 and 3 is 11. So it is going to trigger Thunderball's side scheme, which means I stun each friendly character. Okay, so Iron Man's stunned, and it will drop his side scheme down to 3. And so now we are back to Tony Stark, or we're back to Iron Man. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to thwart for 2 on Bulldozer's scheme, dropping it from 6 down to 4, because I don't want him to become the active villain. Then I'm going to use the Mark V helmet to thwart for 1 on the main scheme, just try to keep it under control as best I can. I'm going to use Power Gauntlets to attack, to knock the stun off that Iron Man has. And then I'm going to put Mockingbird into play using Energy and War Machine for a total of 3. She'll come in and I can stun an enemy. I'm going to stun Bulldozer because, and you'll see why in a second, but I'm going to stun Bulldozer when she comes in. She'll come in with 3. I'm going to have her thwart for 1 to bring his scheme down to 3. I'm going to flip to Tony Stark and exhaust Stark Tower to get my top tech upgrade, which is going to be my powered gauntlet, my other set of powered gauntlets. And I'm going to put those into play using Repulsor Blast and the other rocket boots. And that'll do it. So I'll ready Tony Stark and everything else and then draw up to 6. Alright, start of the main villain phase, 1 threat on the breakout scheme and then 1 on everybody else, so 5 for that. Then 4 for Thunderstruck, 4 for Clear the Road, and 1 for Pile It On. And so now Wrecker is the active villain again, and he's going to scheme. He'll scheme for 3. So boost, what Wrecker gets +3 attack for this activation unless you place 2 threat on it, but he's not attacking. So I'm not going to place a 2 threat because it won't matter. So he just schemes for 3, so it goes from 5 up to 8. Okay, and then the encounter card from Wrecker is going to be Corrupt Prison Guard. So we have a guard now that comes in with 3 health. And then we're back to Tony Stark. Let's see, I'm going to put this right here to try to remember that it's right in front of me and that I got to defeat him before I can hit any of the villains. Or the active villain, but I think any of the villains. So, back to Tony Stark. Alright, the first thing I want to do is use his Futurist ability because I really want to get to his arc reactor. Hopefully it'll come up. 1, 2, 3. It didn't. But I will take the 2 double resources, the strength resources, I think, that came up. Okay, I'm going to put in the Mark V armor with Genius and Preemptive Strike for 3 resources, and that'll give him 6 hit points, bringing him from 11 up to 17. And I'm sorry, folks, I just realized his max hit points is not 17, it is 16. Math is good. Basic math is good. The rocket boots give 1. The Mark armor only gives 6. So that's a total of 7, but he has a base of 9. So that brings him up to, he has a maximum of 16. So it has been wrong, but I don't think that's going to affect anything in the game. So I put that in. I'm going to put Clea in. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is exhaust Stark Tower to get my top tech upgrade, which is going to be the energy barriers, or the energy barrier. And I'm going to put that into play using Preemptive Strike and Tackle. And that'll come in with 3 counters. And then I'll put Clea into play. And you can't see her, but she's over here by Mockingbird. I'm going to do that with Strength. Then I'm going to flip Iron Man. And then I'll use the Power Gauntlets for 1, both of them for 1, 2 damage on this Corrupt Guard to drop him to 1. And then Clea to hit for 1. So that will remove the Corrupt Guard and put him in the discard pile for Wrecker. And she will go down to 1 now. And so I'll use Iron Man to thwart for 2. His Mark Helmet for another for a total of 3 off of Wrecker's side scheme. Which, I can't because he has to attack first. I want to thwart off of Wrecker's side scheme, but I can't until I get rid of Hell Hostage, so that means he's going to have to attack me. So the villain corresponding to the attached side scheme attacks you. So I'm going to go ahead and have Wrecker attack, and I'll have Mockingbird take this, I guess. So he's going to attack for 3. He does have a forced response where if it's an undefended attack, he gets +2, but it is defended. So anyway, he'll attack for 3. Boost. Move the active counter to the villain with the least threat on his side scheme that villain schemes. Okay? So that is going to be Pile Driver. Pile Driver will scheme for 2. And boost. Move the active... So he'll scheme for 2. Let's go ahead and do that because there's a boost. That's going to bring it up to 3. And the boost is move the active counter to the villain whose side scheme has the least threat. That is still Pile Driver. If I'm in hero form, that villain attacks you after this attack. That attack does not get a boost card, okay? So Pile Driver is going to attack me here in a second. So I got to finish Wrecker. He attacked for 3. with no additional thing. So that's going to knock Mockingbird out of the game. And now, because of this boost, Pile Driver is going to attack. It's just an attack of 3. I'll just have Iron Man take it because I do have my 2 energy barriers I can use. So it's going to be attack of 3, 4, 5 total damage. I will use 1 from each of them to prevent 2 damage. So he's only going to take 3, dropping him down from 16 to 13. But then the energy barriers will do 2 damage to Pile Driver down to 12. I think that's it. I think that's all we can. I think we're done finally with the attack. And because he attacked, I can remove Held Hostage. And now Iron Man can thwart for 2. Plus his Mark V helmet for 3 to remove 3 threat from the Day of Reckoning. And now, after I place 1 threat on each scheme, well, Wrecker will still be the active villain. But that's okay. Eventually, I want to get it over to Bulldozer because he's stunned. I stunned him because I was trying to get over to him, but it just hasn't worked out. The cards from the Wrecking Crew have kind of worked against me. Anyway, that's all I can do. So I'm going to ready and draw up to 7. And I can draw to 7 because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 upgrades. Plus his 1, that would be 8. But his max hand size, as you may know, is 7. So I can draw up to 7. Okay, I don't have enough, so I'm going to deal myself an encounter card from Pile Driver because he is the active villain. And I'll shuffle Iron Man's deck, draw up his last card, and then go to the villain phase. Okay, start the main villain phase. So we're up to 3 now out of 6 on the main scheme. And we'll put 1 on each one of the Wrecking Crew side schemes. Okay, and when we do that, unfortunately, Wrecker will still be the most. He'll have 6, so the token will move over to him. He's going to attack. I'm going to have Clea take the attack. So it's going to be 3. Another boost. Wrecker gets +3 attack for this activation unless you place 2 threat on his side scheme. I'll just let him take the +3 attack. So he's going to attack for 6. And that is going to knock Clea out of the game. When she gets defeated, you shuffle her back into the deck. So I'm going to do that real quick. Okay, so now the encounter card will come from Wrecker, and it is Wrecker's command. So attached to Wrecker, the force is after he schemes, place 1 threat on each villain's side scheme. I can spend 2 fists to discard that. So I'm going to put that on Wrecker here so that I'll know about that. So that's the encounter card. We're back to Iron Man. Okay, I think the first thing I'm going to do is put Pepper Potts into play using Nova, Repulsor Blast, and Supersonic Punch for those 3 resources. And then I'm going to use Pepper Potts to generate a resource from the top, and then Supersonic Punch resource for 2 to put my Arc Reactor into play. So now I've got his full suit in play, and Mockingbird will have to wait till next turn, I guess. I'm going to have Iron Man thwart for 2 and the Mark V helmet for another one for 3 off of the main scheme, so that doesn't get out of control. And then I'm going to have the Arc Reactor ready him and thwart for 2 more on Wrecker's side scheme, bringing him from 6 down to 4. And then I'll use the 2 power gauntlets to do 2 damage, and I'll just do it to Wrecker, dropping him from 15 to 13. And that'll be it. So I'll ready and draw back up to 7. Okay, start the main villain phase. 1 threat on the main scheme. And then we'll put 1 on Wreckers. That'll bring it from 4 to 5. Thunderstroke will go from 5 to 6. This will go from 5 to 6 as well. And then that'll go from 4 to 5. Now, Thunderstruck, so Bulldozer and Thunderball both have the same amount on their scheme. So I'm going to move, and they have the most. So I'm going to move it to Bulldozer. So Bulldozer now is supposed to attack, but he can't because he's stunned. And I just realized I didn't resolve this card on my last turn. So I'm going to go ahead and do it now. Hopefully it won't change anything too much. It's just pummel. Pile driver attacks you. If pile driver is tough, he gets +2 attack for this activation. Okay. So we'll just have Iron Man take it. So he is not tough. So it's going to be 3, 4, 5. So that's going to drop Iron Man down from 13 to 8. And I'm just going to have him take it. I won't remove any of my counters. I think that solves everything. Okay, so Bulldozer was supposed to attack in this turn, and he's stunned, so he won't. And then the encounter card will come from him, and it is Headbutt. Discard 1 card at random from your hand if you are in hero form. Take damage equal to that card's printed cost. If you are in alter hero form, place threat on Bulldozer side scheme equal to that card's printed cost. Okay, so I got to discard a card at random. All right, let's see what happens here. I'll shuffle up a little bit. And I will go ahead and discard this card. So it's going to cost 1. And that was take damage equal to that card's printed cost. So I'm going to go ahead and use my last energy barrier. No, it won't because I'm not sure. I'll just leave it. I'll just take it. So he's going to be down to 7. I'll save my energy barrier for something else. And so we're back to Iron Man. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is have Iron Man go aerial. I'm going to discard the power of protection to be able to get the mental resource that I need. And then I'm going to do 2, 4 damage to Wrecker here. So that's going to drop him from 13 to 9. And then I'm going to put Iron Fist into play. And he's going to be way over here off screen. You can't see him. But I'm going to use Genius for 2, Printer Strike 3, Tackle for 4. And he'll come in with 3 health and 2 Mystic counters on him. I'm going to go ahead and have him attack. And when Iron Fist attacks an enemy, remove 1 Mystic counter from him, stun that enemy, and deal 1 damage to it. So I'm going to have Iron Fist attack Bulldozer for 2, dropping him down to 13. Then I'm going to discard the counter like I'm supposed to. And stun the enemy and deal 1 damage. So I'm going to stun Bulldozer and deal another damage down to 12. And then I'll thwart for 2 off of Thunderstruck to drop it down to 4. I'm going to ready. I'm going to use the Arc Reactor to ready Iron Man and thwart for 2 more to drop Pile Driver Scheme from 5 down to 3. And then I'm going to use the Mark 5 helmet to drop Day of Reckoning from 5 down to 4. And that's going to be it. I'll ready and draw back up to 7. Okay, so 1 threat on the main scheme and then 1 on all the other schemes. So Day of Reckoning is going to go from 4 to 5. Same thing for Thunderstruck. It's going to go back up to 5. Clear the Road will go to 7. And Pile It On will go to 4. Bulldozer will remain the active villain. I don't think I have anything that I missed from last turn. So Bulldozer should attack, but he can't because he's stunned. And so his encounter card will be Bull Rush. When revealed in Hero, Bulldozer attacks you. Discard the top card of your deck for each damage dealt by this attack. Okay, so his attacks do overkill. So he attacks for a base of 3, and Iron Man has 7 health. I usually don't defend with him, but I may have to. No, I won't have to defend. I think I can survive it. So he's going to attack. He's going to attack for 3, and then plus nothing, so just for 3. And I'm going to use my 2 energy barriers to prevent 2 damage of that. I'll lose an energy barrier, but it's going to prevent 2. So Iron Man's only going to take 1 damage from that, down from 7 to 6. Bulldozer will take 2, which will drop him down to 10. But I was dealt a damage, so I have to discard the top card of my deck for each damage dealt, which was just 1. So I'll discard the top card, and we are back to Iron Man. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put Mockingbird into play. Have Pepper Potts generate 2 resources for me. Because energy is on the top. And so that's 2. I'm going to put, and then defensive stance for 3. She'll come in with 3 health. And I'm going to have her stun. I'm going to have her stun Pile Driver, I think. No, I'll have her stun Wrecker. Okay? And then I'll go ahead and have Iron Fist attack. I'm going to have him hit Bulldozer for 2, dropping him down to 8. And then the Mystic Counter will be removed. It will stun Bulldozer and deal another damage down to 7. And I'll have Mockingbird just go ahead and attack for 1 on Bulldozer. We're close to getting him. We'll drop him down to 6. And then I'm going to play Tackle using the 2 med teams I have in War Machine. The War Machine is going to do the physical resources. That's 3. I'm going to have her have that damage stun Thunderball and deal 3 damage to him, so dropping him from 15 down to 12. And then I'll attack with my 2 powered gauntlets onto Bulldozer, dropping him from 6 down to 4. I'm going to have Iron Man thwart for 2 on the main scheme. Have the arc reactor ready. And then ready Iron Man, then I'm going to thwart for 2, Mark 5 for another one for a total of 3. And I think this time I'm going to take it off of Clear the Road, drop it down to 4. And so we're okay. He is at 6 health, but I do have a couple of blockers. And I do have a Preemptive Strike. At some point, I got to be careful because I don't want to get him killed. But I think I'm okay for now. So I'm going to leave it. So I'm going to ready and draw back up to 7. Okay, start of the main villain phase. 1 threat on the main scheme. 1 on each one of the other ones. So 6, 6, and then 5, and 5. Okay, so now Wrecker and Thunderball are tied for the most. I'm going to move it back to Wrecker, I think. But he can't attack because he's stunned. So the encounter card will be Chaos in the Prison. Choose to either discard an upgrade you control or place 1 threat on the active villain's side scheme for each upgrade you control. If you do not control any upgrades, this card gains Surge. Okay, I don't want his to go off, and so I am going to just go ahead and I can discard an upgrade I control. So I'm going to do that. I control this energy barrier. I'll just discard that for now, and so that'll do it. And I am back to Iron Man. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is put Brother Voodoo into play way over here. And for 3 with Preemptive Strike and Strength for the 3 resources. And then when he comes in, he'll have 3 hit points. And he lets me search the top 5 cards in my deck for an event card and put it in my hand. So let's see, 1, there we go. 2, 3, 4, 5, and I've got the event card I want, and it is Repulsor Blast. I can put the others back. Actually, I shuffle my deck, so I'm going to shuffle the other ones back, and I'm running out of cards here. So that's something to keep in mind. I'm going to be getting an extra encounter card next time. But I do have my Repulsor Blast. That's what I wanted. I'm going to go ahead and have Iron Fist attack for 2. That's going to knock him out of the game. But Mockingbird for 1 and Brother Voodoo for 1 for a total of 4. And I'm going to get rid of, well, I'll go ahead and get rid of Bulldozer. Might as well. He's stunned, but if I can take him out, why not? So Bulldozer is done. So his side scheme will leave play. And he'll leave play. And also Iron Fist will leave play. Mockingbird will drop down to 1 health, and Brother Voodoo will drop down to 2 health. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and Repulsor Blast with my energy barrier, I guess. So I'm going to deal 1 damage, and then I'm going to discard the top 5 cards of my deck and get 2 damage for each energy card. So that's the rest of the cards. So let's see, 1, 2, there's an energy, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so only 1 energy there. So a total of 3 damage. By the way, is going to go on Wrecker. So he goes from 9 to 6. All right. And that'll come out of play. And I'll have to deal myself an encounter card from Wrecker. Hopefully I don't forget that one. So let me shuffle my deck real quick. Okay. And then I'm going to put Clea into play using my other 2 resources that I have here. And when she comes in, she'll have 2 health. I'm going to have her just attack for 1 on Wrecker to drop him from 6 to 5. And then I'm going to use my 2 powered gauntlets to do 2 damage to him, dropping him from 5 to 3. I'm going to thwart for 2. Off of Wrecker's side scheme to drop it from 6 down to 4. And then I'm going to ready Iron Man and thwart for 2 on Pile Driver's side scheme to drop it down to 3. And then I'll use the Mark V helmet to do 1 on Thunderballs to drop it down to 5. And that'll be it. So I'll ready and draw back up to 7. Okay, so start the main villain phase. 1 threat here and then 1 threat on the side scheme. So that'll go up to 5. Thunderstruck goes up to 6. Piling on goes up to 4. So Thunderball is now the active villain. And he is supposed to attack, but he can't because he's stunned. And then his encounter card will, well, let me deal an encounter card and I'll do the one that came from Wrecker. And it is Magic Crowbar, so I'll attach that to Wrecker, but hopefully that won't matter. Hopefully he'll never get a chance to use that. And then the other one that was drawn from Thunderball is Lightning Blast. So in hero form, Thunderball attacks you. If this attack is undefended, place 3 threat on his side scheme. So it is going to be defended by Clea. And so he's going to attack for 2, 3, 4. That knocks her out of the game. And then after he attacks, I deal 1 damage to each character I control. So Iron Man will go to 5. Mockingbird's out of the game. And Brother Voodoo goes to 1. So he clears out 2 minions and hits Iron Man with that attack. But that is the end of the villain phase. So it is back to Iron Man. Okay, so on Iron Man's turn, I'm going to have Brother Voodoo attack for 1 on Wrecker to drop him to 2. So that's going to knock him out of the game. And then I'm going to go Aerial, discarding my other rocket boots for the mental resource. And then do 2 damage to Wrecker. And that will eliminate him from the game, so he will leave. Wrecker is done. All right, and his side scheme will go out. So now we just have Thunderball and Pile Driver. Pile Driver is at almost full health, and so is Thunderball, but we'll see what we can do about that. Okay, and then I'm going to use the other Power Gauntlet for 2 damage on Thunderball to drop him down to 10. I'm going to Repulsor Blast, and this is going to go on Thunderball. And I will use Pepper Potts to generate the top resource to pay for Repulsor Blast. So it's going to be 1. And I'll discard the cards, well, hopefully where you can see them. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So once again, just 1 energy resource. So that's only a total of 3, dropping him down to 7. Okay. And then I've got another Repulsor Blast. I'm going to go ahead and do it. Spending Med Team to pay for it. So we'll discard 5 more cards. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I got 3 energy resources that time. So that's 2, 4, 6, 7 total damage. And that's enough to eliminate Thunderball out of the game. So he is gone. All right, so I took 2 Repulsor Blasts, but I got him. And now Pile Driver is the only one left, so he'll obviously be the active villain. Let's see, I'll go ahead and put in, I'll just put in an energy barrier for 2 with Genius. So that's going to come in with 3 resources. And then I can't do anything really with Defensive Stance. So I'm going to flip well, first of all, I'm going to thwart for 2 off the main scheme. Okay, and then I'll have Mark 5 helmet, thwart for 1 here. So drop it down to 3. And then I'm going to ready Iron Man, flip him, and heal him for 3, from 5 back up to 8. And now I know there is a chance that Pile Driver his scheme could go off, and if it does, I'm going to lose my Mark 5 armor, which means I would lose the 6 hit points. It would drop him back down to 2. So hopefully that doesn't happen, but I wanted to go ahead and heal. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to ready and draw to 6. Okay, so 1 threat on the main scheme, and that's going to put 1 threat on piling on, so it's 4. He will scheme for 2, 3, 4, so that's going to bring it up to 8. So good, it doesn't go off, at least not there, it doesn't. And so now the encounter card is going to be the active villain gains 3 hit points. Give that villain a tough status card, okay? So he gains 3 hit points. That's going to bring him up to 15. And he gets a tough status card. So now it's going to be a little bit tougher to beat him. But hopefully I can. So that's it. It will go over to Iron Man. First thing I'm going to do is heal Iron Man from 8 back up to 11. And remember, his max hit points is 16, so I can do that. And then I'm going to go ahead and flip him. And then I'm going to... Actually, before I flip, I don't want to flip just yet. I'm going to exhaust Dark Tower to return the topmost tech upgrade from my discard pile to my hand. And I've already checked, and that is Rocket Boots. So that's going to come back into my hand. Okay, and so then now I'm going to go ahead and flip. And I'm going to use discard Rocket Boots and exhaust my Rocket Boots to go aerial. And I'm going to ready Iron Man first of all and hit Pile Driver for 1. So that I can knock off the tough, and I do attack him. It does retaliate, but I have an energy barrier, which it doesn't have to be on defense. It's just interrupt. Whenever I would take any amount of damage, remove it, prevent that damage, and deal it to the enemy. So I'm going to remove a counter to prevent the retaliate and deal 1 to Pile Driver for 14. And I don't see why I can't do that, because again, it doesn't say... If it said it was a defense card, I would only be able to use that when I'm defending an attack. But it doesn't say that. It just says anytime I would take damage. So I'm going to use the energy barrier for that reason there. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and use Pepper Pots to generate the top resource, which will be 1. And then a defensive stance for 2 to put in another energy barrier. So now I've got 2 energy barriers again. And the reason I want to do that is because I'm going to attack Pile Driver for 2, dropping him from 14 to 12. He'll retaliate, but I'll spend a counter from Energy Barrier to prevent it and deal it back to him, so it's to 11. And then I'm going to use another Power Gauntlet for 2 to drop him from 10 to 9. He will retaliate, but I'll use the last counter on this Energy Barrier to prevent that, knock it back to him, which will drop him down to 8. And then I am aerial because I used the Rocket Boots to go aerial earlier. So I'm going to use Supersonic Punch, pay for it with Energy Barrier and Med Team. And that's going to do a total of, because I'm aerial, it's going to do 8 damage to a villain. That's going to be Pile Driver. And it's going to do 8 and knock him out of the game. And so there we go. Iron Man defeats the Wrecking Crew on Expert in Game 7. And I really like Iron Man Protection deck because you can put those 3 Energy Barrier cards in and help you get to your hand size faster than normal. And also, as you saw there, and I'm pretty sure I was playing that right, with the energy barrier. Whenever he was doing his one retaliate damage, I was able to use the energy barrier to prevent it, knock it back to him, and help me get him right where I needed him to go ahead and finish him off with a supersonic punch. And again, if that's wrong, let me know, but I'm pretty sure you can do that. But even if I wasn't able to do that, I'm pretty confident I would have won the game anyway. Eventually, it may have taken a turn or two more, but I think it would have won the game. But I hope you enjoyed the playthrough. And if you did, please consider to like and subscribe, and be sure to hit the notification bell, because I do have some more playthroughs coming out, and you'll want to know when those are coming. And so again, thank you for watching, and until the next playthrough, I'll save you a seat at the table.